What's up? Wild Runs here, and I don't have a computer, so you're going to have to be looking at my dumb face this entire video. Let's talk about how the Pro Tour Championship ended and why I think this was actually one of the best tournaments of the year. Like, no joke. Alright, so let's just start off with FPO because it's generally what I believe to be the more interesting outcome. I thought Kristen was going to run away with it, and even in like the back half of the third round, which was kind of like the first round because it was like a qualifying first two rounds, and obviously Kristen qualified. But even in the back half where she was struggling in round three, I was like, she's still going to come away with the win. I don't know how she's going to do it, but everyone else is going to struggle and she's going to dominate. But that was just not the case. With a very uncharacteristic 2 bogeys, 1 double, and a triple on the back nine of round three, there was basically just no chance that she was going to run away with it. And she'd actually have a pretty killer final round. She was 30% from circle 2 in the final round, so was jamming in putts. But again, it just doesn't really matter if you're so far behind the leaders. But with that said, she did finish in 4th place, which kind of makes sense. Like, I think a very terrible round for Kristen is 4th place, but that did net her, I think it was $9,000. So overall, a very good finish. Even though we definitely expect Kristen to kind of dominate in a format like this, but still pretty good. All right, next up, let's go over the big three. And what made this event so incredibly interesting was that there was no Paige, there was no Katrina, there was kind of no Kristen because she was so out of contention. So it was basically a 3-horse race between Missy, Own, and Cat Merch. And they basically had a neck and neck race over the final round. They swapped places at least 4, maybe even like 6 times throughout the round, and Missy was not even in the lead for the majority of the final round. So it was a total toss-up who was actually going to come away with it, and that made it so interesting because a lot of these holes, they require a good amount of distance, and there's so many players out here that just don't have it, like Own. She is a phenomenal player that can hit really good lines, but she doesn't have the distance, whereas Missy does, and she jams in her putts, and Kat has better distance, but she was pretty bad off the tees. So even though she had great distance, she really didn't have a great opportunity to score, and she would be out of it off her tee and ended up actually 0% from circle 2. So it was kind of what I believe to be a 2-horse race, even though that's not really how it played out, between Own and Missy. And even though Missy didn't even have a lead until hole 13, she grabbed 2 birdies on 13 and 15 and basically was able to coast on in. There was a very dodgy upshot on hole 17 for Missy, and it was looking like she might actually choke this, but knowing Missy, she does not miss any putts, so she jams it in from circle's edge. It might have even been circle 2. And with that, she was able to get a very easy par, even though it still required a very good upshot. Ends up with a 3-stroke lead to earn herself $40K. Not a bad day. Big money Missy still remains. And I gotta say, honestly, second week in a row where FPO is more interesting than MPO. And I still love watching MPO. It's great. It's amazing content. But comparing it to FPO these past couple of weeks, it has been kind of eye-opening. Like, sure, the putting is just not there to the same level. That's a given. But the stakes are so high because people will flip-flop every single hole. And there's just so much intriguing storylines going on there. But with that said, let's go over MPO. Alright, so for MPO, I gotta say, final round was kind of a snooze fest. It got very interesting towards the very end, but a friend of mine was just kind of like, yeah, I clicked away once I saw Ricky was in the lead by a decent margin. And so besides that, the first couple of rounds were honestly some of the best disc golf I've seen all year, and that was because every single place mattered. There was not a single stroke from anybody that was like, ultimately it didn't matter unless it was like Kevin Jones and Dickerson that were way out of it. So you had instances like hole 18 in round 2 where Adam Hammis jams in a very important circle 2 putt. Nicholas misses a very important circle 2 putt. And James Proctor also misses a very important circle 2 putt. So all these 3 putts were the critical factor that made them either make or miss the finals, which is thousands of dollars. So that was insane to watch some of the best putters of the entire year miss putts that you know that they're capable of making. And so to see that was just so good. And I wish we actually got more of this. I thought the format would be kind of weird and gimmicky, But no, I loved it. And I think we definitely need to incorporate some non-standard ways of playing disc golf because that's just fun to watch. And I think people try to take themselves way too seriously, but having new interesting formats actually does produce very, very good viewing experiences, and I loved it. One other note, the most electric player the entire round who wasn't really even in contention would be Ezra Robinson. I think he made 7 circle 2 putts that were like circle's edge. So this is like a 60 footer. He made this again and again and again and again and again. So I really don't know what was happening, but man, I think he should have been like win his entire tournament because his circle 2 percentages were just astronomical. But on to the final round. It was basically a 2-horse race. There was moments where Adam Hammes was looking like he would be in contention, but it was really a race between Kyle Klein and Ricky Wysocki. There was definitely an electric push from your boy Calvin, but Calvin just doesn't really have that fight in him in earlier rounds. In this instance, it was just one round. So he was already way behind and really was in the fight. But with the final scores, it actually definitely could have been like an insane three-way playoff if things worked out a certain way, but wasn't the case. Calvin ends with like a 10 under, totally absurd. But the people in contention were obviously Kyle and Ricky. So starting the day, I think Ricky had like a 4-stroke lead. And I think if you're anybody that is watching Ricky, especially at the Pro Tour Championship, you're going to assume, yeah, this is going to be a Ricky fest. He's going to destroy. And that's kind of what it looked like at the start. But then in the back half of the front 9, things became a little bit more interesting. With Ricky getting a double on hole 6 and a bogey on hole 7, he had a couple of birdies right after that. But still, it was looking like it might... All right, my camera died, so gonna do handheld here. So after that, Ricky had 2 birdies, and it was like, okay, even though he's fumbling a bit, there's just no way anybody's really gonna make a push. But Kyle was just being slow and steady. He was looking very confident. He missed a couple of putts and had some unfortunate fairway hits that and just hit a tree and was just a little bit out of position. And then he missed a couple of putts in the back half, and Ricky jammed in some insane circle 2 putts. So after that, you were like, yeah, this is probably just a done deal. But then hole 18 happens, and it probably is one of my favorite hole 18s. Like, I don't know if I love the Nevin course, but hole 18 is just so good at producing randomness and insanity. So Ricky had a pretty good tee shot, but his second shot goes way deep in the trees, making it a very good opportunity for Kyle to gain some strokes, and he actually had to gain 2 strokes. So it was looking like we might actually get a playoff, but getting inside circle for a birdie putt is very, very difficult on this hole. So Kyle tries to make an insane hero upshot and gets very, very, very close, but ultimately gets in the crowd and was probably like maybe 20 feet short of circle 1, making it a just ungettable par. He ends with a bogey, and then Ricky ends with a double on hole 18. So he actually only won by 1 stroke and ends with a double. So there was a very real possibility that Kyle actually would have clutched this thing, become a Pro Tour champion, in addition to just winning USDGC. That would have been insane. It would have been like a Paul level-esque season actually, but that was not the case. So I don't think Kyle's probably too upset because he did have a very good finish, very good play throughout this entire tournament, and honestly a great year because he won a major, and I think he won Waco, and really we haven't seen too much from Kyle in terms of winning. So overall, it's still a great season for him, and I think Ricky is also very excited to get this win. Obviously the money is important, but more than that, just getting another win, I think it really puts in perspective that Ricky is here to stay for a long, long time. And we may not see a lot of Paul next year, but I think it's very clear that Ricky is here and he will not be going anywhere. So with that said, what do you guys think about the format? Did you watch it all? Did you kind of not watch Final Round because it wasn't that interesting? I'd love to hear about it. Also, I am sorry that we don't actually get to see any footage. I don't have a computer with me. I'm working on that, but it is finally postseason. So we'll get to see what the next season looks like, if it's actually going to be as lame as I think it might be. And I'll definitely be talking about it in future videos. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe. Wild Runs, signing out. Peace.